These are my ZZ plants, and honestly the difference is pretty obvious. Two of them are growing faster, bigger and stronger, and fertilizer has nothing to do with it. Today I'll show you exactly why and what might be stopping your ZZ plant from growing. We all know ZZ plants are considered slow growers, but when you care for them the right way, the results can actually be surprising. I even had 5 new stems growing at the same time once I found the right combination. Now let's start with the first and probably the most misunderstood thing: light. We usually call ZZ plants low-light plants, and honestly that's not wrong. But this is also where most people get confused. And here is the thing: surviving is not the same as thriving. In low light, ZZ plants stay alive, but they don't really grow. They just sort of exist. The truth is, ZZ plants actually love light. Bright, indirect light for at least 6 hours a day makes a huge difference. And if you can give them a bit of gentle morning or late afternoon sun, it will be even better. That combination is what really pushes new growth. You can see the difference here. These 3 plants are getting more light, including some gentle afternoon sun from the distance. This one, on the other hand, is in a darker room where the light is much weaker. The stems are thinner, the leaves are smaller, and overall the plant just doesn't look its best. It's been like this for more than 2 years, alive, but not really growing. So if you want new growth and bigger leaves, the first thing you should do is move your ZZ plant to a brighter spot. But be careful, don't place it in harsh direct sun, especially strong midday sun. If the light is too intense, the leaves can burn. East or west facing windows are ideal, and a north-facing window can work too. Just place the plant right in front of it. In most cases, you will start seeing new growth within a few weeks. Keep in mind that when you change the light, your watering routine needs to change too, and I'll talk about that later. Even though light is the most important factor, it's not the only one. For example, this plant is getting the same amount of light as the other 2 bigger ones. But as you can see, the pot is much smaller. And that brings us to the next important part: pot size and soil mix. Both play a big role in how fast a ZZ plant grows and how big that growth will be. ZZ plants like to be slightly root-bound, and that's true. They grow from rhizomes, and a bit of tight space helps keep them stable. But if a ZZ plant stays too long in the same pot and there is no room to produce new rhizomes, growth slows down. You will either see no new growth at all or very small thin new stems. So at some point, giving the plant more space becomes necessary. When it comes to repotting, going 1 to 2 sizes bigger than the current pot is ideal. And always make sure the pot has drainage holes, always. Soil mix also matters. ZZ plants need a well-draining mix, something that doesn't stay wet for too long. If the soil holds too much moisture, growth slows down and roots can start to suffer. If you're not sure how to repot a ZZ plant properly or which soil mix to choose, I recommend watching my other video on how to repot a ZZ plant the right way. I'll leave the link in the description. After repotting, place the plant back into a brighter spot and give it some time to adapt. Once it settles, don't be surprised if you see several new stems coming up at the same time. And just like with light, changing the pot size or soil mix also changes how the plant needs to be watered. Now let's talk about watering. They store water in their rhizomes, which means they don't need frequent watering. In fact, they prefer to dry out completely between waterings. A very common mistake is watering on a schedule. Once a week, every few days. That doesn't really work for ZZ plants, at least not long term. Instead, always check the soil first. If the soil is still moist, wait. If it's completely dry, then it's time to water. And as I mentioned before, when conditions change, watering has to adjust with them. More light means the plant uses more water, and fresh airy soil dries out differently. That's why watering should always respond to the plant's environment. Overwatering won't make a ZZ plant grow faster, it actually does the opposite. It slows growth, damages the roots, and can eventually lead to rot. If you want faster and healthier growth, less water is almost always better than too much. Let me give you a real example. I water all of my ZZ plants at different times. The biggest one gets watered only about once a month. The pot is larger, it holds more soil and takes much longer to dry out. The smaller one gets watered about once every 2 weeks. The pot is smaller and the soil dries much faster. So even when ZZ plants are kept in the same home and similar conditions, each one still has different needs. That's why it's so important to observe your plant instead of following a fixed routine. Pay attention to the pot, the soil, and how quickly everything dries out. And remember, with ZZ plants, it's always safer to underwater than to overwater. Another thing that is important is temperature and stability. ZZ plants don't like sudden changes. Cold drafts, heaters, or frequent moving around can slow growth more than you might expect. The plants that grow faster are usually the ones left in one stable spot. Warm, consistent temperatures and a calm environment help the plant focus on growth instead of stress. Once you find a good place for your ZZ plant, it's best to leave it there. Give it time and let it settle. Now let's talk about fertilizer. This might surprise you, but fertilizer is not what makes ZZ plants grow faster. If light, pot size, soil and watering aren't correct, fertilizer won't help. In fact, it can do more harm than good. These plants grow slowly by nature, so they don't need a lot of feeding. When fertilizer is used too early or too often, the roots can get stressed or damaged. Fertilizer is just a small bonus, not the main reason behind healthy growth. And just to be clear, I do use fertilizer, but very carefully. During the growing season, I feed my ZZ plants about 2 to 3 times. I use a liquid fertilizer made for greenhouse plants. And if you are fertilizing, this part is very important. Always water the plant first. Never add fertilizer to dry soil. If fertilizer goes directly onto dry roots, it can burn them and slow the growth. And if you are asking how to make a ZZ plant grow faster and bigger, the answer isn't just one thing. It's not only light, it's not only watering, and it's definitely not fertilizer. Everything works together. Light affects how much water the plant uses. Pot size and soil affect how fast that water dries. Watering affects the roots, and healthy roots are what produce new growth. When one thing is off, the whole system slows down. So instead of trying to force growth, focus on creating the right conditions. The key is simple. Give your ZZ plant light, give it space, and water it wisely. Healthy growth is always the result of balance and not forcing the plant. And if your plant is struggling right now, I also have a video about ZZ plant problems and the 5 most common mistakes to avoid. I'll leave the link in the description if you want to check it out. I hope you found this video helpful, and if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. I'm always happy to help. And if you enjoy this kind of plant care content, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching and happy growing!